how are you? Milo is here as well, as per usual. If you see me looking in two places, I am looking at two screens because I'm live on Facebook at the same time. Today's live, I'm going to be chatting about what I would do if I was just getting started as a fashion photographer today in 2020, because I know that a lot of you are also in this sort of position where you're just getting started. So I thought it'd be interesting to really quickly just go over some of the things that I would do if I was getting started today. So I first got started with photography back in 2007, 2006, like a really long time ago. And there was hardly as many photographers out there in the world. Like, there was really little noise on the internet. I joined a website called Flickr, and that was how I kind of found my footsteps and got started. But there also wasn't half as much online education as there is now. So these days, if you go on any kind of platform, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Pinterest, there is literally an abundance of information about photography these days that there wasn't back then. So from my point of view, if you're getting started today, I think you're in a much more fortunate position than you would have been back when I was starting, because there was just hardly the information that there is now. So if I was getting started today, the first thing I would do is just devour YouTube. I think that you could probably learn your entire fashion photography career just on YouTube, genuinely. There is so much content on there, whether it's about what cameras to use, how to use a camera, how to understand how to use it fully in manual, how to use artificial lighting, how to get clients, how to back up your photography. Everything is on YouTube. So I would literally just go and look up all of the photography YouTubers and just spend loads of time watching YouTube, subscribe to them all, keep watching their videos, etc, etc. The next thing I would do would be to buy whatever kind of DSLR I can get my hands on, something cheap. It really doesn't matter what it is you start with, as long as it's a DSLR with some kind of lens. It can be just your regular kit lens that comes with the DSLR, and I would learn how to use a camera manually to the best of my abilities. You want your camera to almost be like an extension of your body, to the point where you don't have to think about what you're doing. That's the kind of position you want to eventually be in, and the best way to get to that point is to practice loads and loads and loads. So I know a lot of people, when they're just getting started, get really hung up on what camera should I buy, what camera should my first camera be. But to be honest, anything, it really doesn't matter. I started on a Nikon D80, which they don't even make anymore, but any kind of DSLR that has the function of being able to go manual and has the ability to have interchangeable lenses is great. If you cannot afford to invest in a DSLR camera, an iPhone. Honestly, you can do so much these days with just an iPhone. You wouldn't be able to learn the manual side of photography, which is what I really suggest most of you try and push for. But if you really have no other option, the best way to start learning photography in general, and there's more to photography than just understanding ISO and aperture and shutter speeds. There's also composition, there's light, there's directing models, there's so much to it. So if you can only start with anything else, if you can't start with anything else, then grab your iPhone and just start doing shoots on your iPhone. There are ample photographers out there who are doing amazing work just on iPhone. Some of my favourite images I've taken on my iPhone. So yeah, that is what I would do. If at any point you have any questions, either on Instagram or on Facebook, please feel free to ask. I will answer them when we get to the end of the lesson. Okay, and like I said before, the next thing I would do would just be practice. Like, go out all the time. Have your camera with you all the time. When I was starting, I was in school, so I had loads of time, like in the evenings, on the weekends. Should have been doing homework, but I was definitely not doing homework. I was taking photos. And just like shoot everything. Your dog, your garden, your mum, your dad, your husband, your wife, your kids, flowers, trees, forests, landscapes. Shoot everything and practice with your camera as much as possible. Like I said before, you want your camera to become like a limb, almost like an extension of your body, so that when you do eventually start working with clients, you're not thinking about, oh, what does my camera's like shutter speed need to be? What does my aperture need to be? It should just come instinctually. And that only comes with practice. You will not get to a point where you just know all that stuff if you don't practice and practice and practice. So do that, shoot everything all the time. Next on my list is take online courses. I started taking online courses back in 2016, and they completely changed my life. I genuinely think I've learned more from taking online courses than I would have ever learnt at university, at workshops. Workshops are really good, but like they're a much more expensive option, whereas online courses, you can get just as much education from an online course than you can if you go to a workshop. They obviously don't have the community element, but they're an amazing place to start. So online courses are so incredibly valuable. You can get them at all different price ranges, from starting at like £20. I've got one that's £60. I've got another one that is £277 at the moment. And they range all the way up to like £2,000, £5,000. It completely varies, but they are the most incredible tool that technology has brought us. The fact that we can learn anything these days at the click of a button is mind-blowing to me. Another thing you can do is read loads of books, and not just how-to photography books, but business books as well that have nothing to do with photography. I did an Instagram live that you'll be able to see on my IGTV a few weeks ago, all about the favourite books I recommend to photographers. And most of those books have nothing to do with photography, but they're all about business. Because if you really want to be a fashion photographer, you are going to be running a business. And if you're going to run a business, you need to know how to run a business. And there are so many elements that you can learn from other businesses that you can use in your photography business. Things like accounting, money management, project management, marketing, all those things you can learn from other places, not just photography. Of course, if you can read books that are specifically written for photographers, I do mention a few in the IG live I did, which are specifically photography business books and photography books. That's great. But don't just limit yourself to photography books. There is so much out there, and I guarantee you will learn a million times more than most people by reading books about general business and not just about photography. Okay, second to last point on my list is try loads of different genres. I know that we're talking about fashion photography here, but I genuinely believe that every photographer should dabble in other genres to try and just check that they don't much prefer something else. For example, give it a go at doing weddings. If you are genuinely curious as to whether you'll enjoy wedding photography or not, do weddings. I did them for a little while. They weren't for me, but had I not done that, I wouldn't know that they weren't for me. And I do think it's incredibly important that we give it a go. You might think you want to be a fashion photographer and then go and photograph family portraits and find you really, really enjoy shooting families, and that's what you want to go down. You might also think you want to be a fashion photographer and then decide you prefer product photography. Whatever it might be, I do think it's important that you try everything, and likewise, doing those things may prove to you that actually you don't like those things and fashion is truly what you want to do. That is what happened to me. I only fully confirmed what I wanted to do because I sort of ruled out the ones I didn't want to do. So I do think that you should try other things, focus on what you want to do, and then move on. And then sort of niche down into what it is you actually want to do. Okay, and then the last point is to share your work and ask for feedback. Some people are really scared of doing this, and I understand why, because a lot of us see these Facebook groups that are on Facebook where people share their work and they get really harsh criticism. And that's not helpful. So I always recommend sharing imagery with tight-knit circles of people that you trust, industry experts. So, you know, that could be hiring a coach, that could be going to a portfolio review, that could be, I don't know, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but you know, you get what I mean. You can post in Facebook groups for feedback. My Facebook group is a lovely, warm, caring space. There is no hate going on and no harsh criticism in my group. I would never ever endorse that, and I would never give it myself. No one in the group does either. But if you do want to share in Facebook groups, be mindful of your own mental health before you go ahead and do that. I know that for a fact I'm far too sensitive to be posting all my work in these Facebook groups that just bombard people with horrible comments about their work. You need to learn. You definitely need feedback to progress. We all do. We all need to hear some constructive criticism sometimes so that we learn what's working and what's not. But be mindful of where you're getting the criticism and the help from. Also be careful about asking for too much advice from like friends and family. While they have the best intentions and they will always want to be kind to you and to encourage you, they might not be the best place to ask for feedback, because ultimately your family and friends just want you to feel happy and they want to love you and make you feel loved. So they're not necessarily going to be the best people to ask for help because they just won't be able to give it to you. That's when going to portfolio reviews, workshops, hiring a coach one-off for some portfolio reviewing, Facebook groups, all those things are going to be more beneficial because there's not that need to 100% please you, if that makes sense. Okay, that is everything that I have on my little list. I hope that that was helpful. I'm just going to check that I haven't had anything else I wanted to mention on my computer. I have a screen down here that's helping me with prompts. And I think I got a question, so if anyone's got any more questions, please feel free to ask. I will be taking them now. Amy asked, do you have any suggestions of photographers on YouTube to watch and specific courses to look at? Yes, of course I do. YouTube-wise, there is a blog post on my website, Olivia Bossert Education, which is literally like all the YouTube channels I recommend photographers watching. On the top of my head though, there is a great YouTube channel by my friend Kaylee June. She is primarily a beauty and retouching photographer and she is amazing and makes great videos. Mango Street are another really cool YouTube channel, which if you're just getting started, they have all kinds of tutorials about all kinds of things, and they cover a huge depth of stuff. Jessica Kubasi is another fun person to follow. My boyfriend is coming at below the window and I can see him laughing at me. Jessica Kubasi is great. If you're into film, a photographer called Matt Day is another great person to follow. So that's a bunch at the top of my head. And then if you're looking for courses, I mean, I'm going to self-promo here, but my courses, obviously, I am a big endorser of. My first fashion client course is a great place to start if you're literally just getting started with fashion photography and you want to get that first client. It walks you through all the steps, what you need to do to get that first client. And then my Pitching with Confidence course, which is not currently open but will be again soon, is all about how to pitch to clients, and that is literally the step-by-step guide of everything you need to know on how to pitch yourself to clients. Beyond that, Lara Jade's courses about fashion photography are fantastic. I have taken both of them. Hi Milo. And they are very good. So she's got two. The first one is more about the lighting side of things and how to actually take the images, which if you're learning photography is a great place to start. And then the other side, she has a business one as well, which is equally good, and I recommend that one too. Sorry. My Carly Dame is an amazing photographer, also very, very good. She has an online course called the Modern Artist Academy or the Modern Photography Academy, which is fantastic. I've taken that one as well. Like I said, just because I teach courses and just because I teach everything you're learning here doesn't mean that I'm not always learning myself. I think that just because I share with you guys doesn't mean that I still don't have stuff to learn. I've always got something to learn. So I am also often taking the same courses that you guys are, because you never know what I might learn on top of that. Let me just check I don't have any more questions. when pricing clients as a beginner, how should I charge them a low price? So if you've never ever charged for photography before, I don't think you should charge a low price. Like, don't go in there and say, I'm going to charge you £50 for the whole thing, because that would be ridiculous. I also don't think it's incredibly helpful to have someone shoving that you should be charging like £1,000 for a shoot right off the get-go, because you're not going to feel confident enough to do that, and you're just going to, like, they're just going to be like, well, you've never done it before, why would we pay you that much? I think it's about finding a price that you feel confident sharing with someone, and also that makes you feel like you're still being valued and you're not being taken advantage of. So when I started out, I was charging, and I recommend also having a half day and a full day rate when you're starting. That's what I did. This is literally, I'm sharing what I did. Other people say you shouldn't have half day and full day rates. This is just what's worked for me over the years and what I recommend to everyone else. I had a half day rate of like $250 to start with, and then my full day rate was $400 or $450 or something like that. This was like 3 or 4 years ago now. And you know, when I was getting started, that felt like a lot of money to me. Spending £250 sounded like a heck of a lot of money to me. Therefore, earning £250 felt really good. So it's about finding a price that you feel good earning, but also confident asking for. And that's just going to be on you to figure out what you want to charge. That being said, you always want to know what your break-even costs are. Even if you're charging less than your break-even to start with, you want to know what it eventually needs to be so that you're covering all your costs. The way you do that is you know your costs of business. So what does your photography business actually need to have spent on it so that you cover the costs? So that, you know, things like cameras and software and like Photoshop and stuff like that. How much does all that cost? Add it all up, that's your cost of doing business. Then you need to know your cost of living. So, you know, how much is your rent? How much is your car? How much do you have to pay electricity? All those things, that's your cost of living. You put food and stuff in that as well. And then how much profit do you want to make as well on top of that? That's kind of how you work out what your pricing should be. That's a very brief explanation and will probably not be enough for you to understand fully what to charge, but you know, it's a starting place. If you want to know more about pricing, I do have a blog post on my website which is called Pricing for Fashion Photography, and you can read that and hopefully it will help you. If you have any more questions, then just message me. I am always happy to answer your questions in direct messages as well. Any more questions before I finish up and go, because we have been here for how long? 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a long time. Okay, glad I could help. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much everyone for watching. I'm really glad that I was able to help today, and I hope you found the video interesting, and I will be back on Monday with a very exciting masterclass. If you haven't already signed up for the waitlist of the masterclass, then make sure you do so. It's all the information is in my stories, so don't miss out on that. It's going to be epic. It's going to be 5 steps to signing your first fashion client. I'm so excited. I've been working on it all week. It's going to be action-packed, and I'm going to be teaching you how to do hashtag research, because that is a big hot topic that I know you guys all want to know about. I just had a question. Teresa asks, were you really happy with your portfolio when you first pitched? I don't think you're ever fully happy with your portfolio. That's the whole point of being an artist, sadly. Like, you always want to do better. You're always pushing for more. But did I feel like I knew that the work I was sharing with the potential client was in line with what they needed? Yes. I had done research and I'd made sure that I knew that what I was sharing with them would be something that they would be interested in to an extent. Was I 100% sure that they would want to hire me or work with me? No, but we never are. So it's about backing up your pitching with the right research and the right work up front. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to stop there because otherwise we're going to be here all day. Thank you so much. I will see you on Monday for the masterclass, and I will see you again for another live as well very soon. Bye. I'm going to end it here as well. Bye.